What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. Before I start this video, I want to remind you guys, as always, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to Too Raw for TV. I'd like to thank everybody that has subscribed to my channel over the past couple of weeks. I've got a lot of subscribers. A lot of you guys have come over the last couple of weeks, man. I want to thank all you guys for the support, man. If you haven't hit that notification button, so that you be notified of any other video that drops on my channel as soon as it drops. And also, if you like or at least appreciate the content on my channel, please like the video. These are things that help not only my channel, but other channels in the LDBC, the Lions Den basketball community, to be that much better. All right. If you want to support Too Raw for TV, if you can support Too Raw for TV, you can do so in the links in the description box below via the PayPal or the Cash App. And also, if you want to support Too Raw for TV via the Patreon, you can do so in the link that's in the description box for only $2 per month. I want to thank all of you guys who have come over to support the Patreon. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, YouTube is on some funny money business right now, and there's a possibility that my channel and some other channels may be terminated in the next couple of weeks, man. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but there was a lawsuit. I don't want to go too far into it, but it was a lawsuit, and YouTube lost a lot of money behind the lawsuit. And my theory is that they're trying to recoup some of those losses by getting rid of some of the smaller channels, supposedly are not as profitable. And so if you support Too Raw for TV, please come over to the Patreon. It's really worth it. I just uploaded a video on the Patreon just before I recorded this one. Now, this video is a further continuation of this Luka Doncic, LeBron James beef. This imaginary beef that doesn't exist. But you can kind of get a sense that the media is trying to push this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're really trying to push this rivalry that doesn't exist between these two guys. If I'm LeBron James, I feel a certain type of way about this. But I'll get into that in a moment. The media wants two fans. See, I'm going to tell you something, man. Whether people want to admit it or not, race is always a huge factor in sports. And everything, really. But in this matter, we're talking about sports. And the media knows that. So you're going to have a group of fans battling each other. Now, number one, you're going to have LeBron James fans out there. Now, there are regular run-of-the-mill LeBron James fans out there, and then you have your extremes, all right? And let's be honest. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. Those are the guys that are on LeBron James' side in this battle, this future battle I see. Then for Luka, you have Dallas Maverick fans. There hasn't really been a long-term Luka fan base, but I'll just say that there are casuals out there who really don't follow the NBA, but all of a sudden they're watching the NBA and following Luka because they can identify with Luka. Do I need to go further with that one? That's what I'm talking about. And then also on the Luka side, you have LeBron James haters. They're just going to side with Luka because they hate LeBron James' guts. All right, the haters out there. And if I'm LeBron James, I kind of feel a certain type of way about this because this guy hasn't established himself at all as a basketball player. LeBron James has been doing it for 17 years. He's been proving his greatness for 17 years. Whether or not you feel like he has conspired or to build, to get this guy on his team, or whether he has too much power with organizations, whether he pads his numbers, rules changes, whether you think he's a jerk, whether you think he's a bad father, whether you think he's an egomaniac. Regardless of that, you can't seriously deny his greatness as a basketball player. You can debate his ranking, but you can't deny that he's probably at least a top 10 all-time player. some have him top 5. Some will even have him top 3. Um, I think if you have him higher than that, it's kind of pushing it. But the fact is, LeBron is an all-time great. This is Luka's second season, and we're not even 20 games into his second season. Luka has not proven himself to be on the level that LeBron James has achieved. You know, Luka has not even been to an NBA playoff yet, but you're already seeing people pushing numbers suggesting that LeBron James is inferior to Luka Doncic. Now, there are some things you have to take into consideration, you know, with this situation. What Luka's doing this season is magnificent. I think this year he's averaging like 30.6 points, 10.1 rebounds, 9.8 assists. He's basically doing what Russell Westbrook did for 3 years, which is averaging triple double. At the same time, just give credence to what I've been saying about this era. I've been saying that this era, this high paced, high octane offensive 3-point happy era with literally no defense, no bigs down low, you know, consistently. Everybody's a fucking stretch for most part. These are why these guys' numbers are inflated. That's why we saw these inflated numbers in the 1960s, late 50s into the 1960s, early through the 70s, because of the pace, the era that they played in. That's why in the 1990s, when the pace of the game went down so much to the point where scoring average, like you had teams that were only averaging like 82 points, 86 points, you know, maybe even 77 points. I don't know what the fuck the averages were, but it was really low. That's why back then in the late 90s, the strike year is pretty much like the low point. Allen Iverson led the NBA in scoring, averaging less than 27 points per game. Nobody scored 50 points in a game that season. It was routine to have final scores 70, 75, 72 after 4 quarters of play. Some teams, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong now, but I think there was only one team that averaged 100 points that year, and that was the Kings. One team. Now you're hard pressed to find one team not to average 100 points. Now, so that goes to show you the differences in errors, and I bring that up because it's flawed to bring up Luka Doncic's numbers and compare them to what LeBron did when he was 20 years old. Now, mind you, when LeBron James was in his second year, the 2004-2005 season, we were transitioning out of the hardcore defensive era into one becoming a little bit more offensively uh, geared or slanted, but toward offense, but offensively favored. I'll put it like that. But still, at that time, this is when teams like the Nets and the Pacers and the Pistons were still the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So this is still an era where you couldn't really hand check as much as you could. But I think they totally phased that out by the end of that season. But you still could, you still could do certain things. You still could put your elbow on somebody. It was still physical aspects of the game. You know what I'm saying? Defenders hadn't quite been totally handcuffed yet. So the fact that LeBron was still able to average 27, 7, and 7 in that era, you just got to use your common sense and put LeBron of 2004 or 5 in today's NBA, and he would probably average a triple-double. He would have the energy and stamina to do so, unlike the older man we're seeing today. I mean, LeBron James is great, but he's not the LeBron James of 10, 14, 15 years ago. He's not that guy who could play 40 minutes a game back then. You put that LeBron in today's NBA, he would average a triple-double. Um, Also, we have to acknowledge the fact that the game is perfect. The game is totally perfect for a European player. That's what the NBA has kind of turned into, a game geared toward European basketball players. Not to mention the fact that the thing that truly separates these guys is defense. Now, we all know LeBron James over the last couple of years has become actually one of the worst defensive players in the league. You know, when he puts effort, he can be a decent defender and burst, but he still is not a very active defensive player anymore. But in his prime, LeBron James was an above average defensive player, and when he put the most effort into it when he was in Miami, he was actually one of the league's better defensive players. Not technically a great defensive player, but he was much more active, and that's the LeBron James that had to chase down blocks, and he really was a much more formidable force on that side of the floor than a Luka Doncic. But in this offensive trigger happy NBA, people like offense. They claim they want to see defense, but people love offense. But the media has been sucking his cock, Luka Doncic. Let's be honest. Right now, statistically, the Dallas Mavericks have had a long stretch of putting up a lot of points. It's not just Luka. It's the guys around him are playing very well this year. Kristaps Porzingis. I know Knicks fans are like, where the fuck was this Kristaps the last couple years he was with the Knicks? Tim Hardaway Jr. the same thing. Where the fuck was this Tim Hardaway Jr. when he was with the Knicks? Uh, other guys that are on that team, they've been playing well, and right now they're on pace. I don't think they're going to keep it up, but they're on pace to have statistically the best offensive season for an NBA team in the last 45 years. And you have people out there saying, "Oh man, this is a better offensive team than the Golden State Warriors." Now, come on now, that's an insult to Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and that overpaid $100 million man. That's an insult to all those guys. Come on now, you know. It's an insult. But there are definitely race trolls out there who are masquerading as Luka Doncic supporters. I've already saw it on some videos on YouTube when Stephen A. Smith said he had the temerity to say that he wouldn't compare Luka to LeBron yet. And this is the same guy, Stephen A. Smith, who we recognize as a coon and a sellout. But yet these race trolls, because they didn't like the fact that he wouldn't put Luka over LeBron, are playing the race card and calling him a racist. This is what we're going to have to deal with. This is why I made that video last year saying, how long will it be until we start hating Luka Doncic? Because it's coming. And I like Luka Doncic, but you see this all the time in boxing. All the time in boxing, we see where initially one of us or we will like a fighter who is white, but, because we actually are boxing fans or we're basketball fans. But then the casuals will come over when they start seeing a newsreel or highlight of this guy doing something, and then they'll claim him. And if everybody don't step in line and say that this guy's this, and then they'll just go into hyperbole. They'll go into hyperbole and say, "Oh, he's the greatest, this and that. He's the best to ever do this." Blah blah blah. And they will say, "Wait a minute now. You can't say that because historically, blah blah. This guy and that guy did this, and that guy did this, and this guy did that." Then they play the race card. Oh, you only saying it because he's white. And that which makes you start hating not only them, but start making you root against the guy. And that's how these things get started. But this isn't the first time we've seen this. We haven't seen, it's not the first time we've seen a young upstart gets compared to an established superstar. The racial dynamic wasn't there, but we all remember a young Kobe Bryant who wanted to come at Jordan, or a young Allen Iverson who wanted to come at Mike. In the mid to late 90s. We remember that. So the NBA kind of might want to recreate these types of things. Of course, in the 80s, we saw Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, but those guys were in the same generation. Luka and LeBron are not in the same generation. All right. So, but we'll see. We'll see how Luka Doncic's career plays out. And we'll see. Well, we already know LeBron's a Hall of Famer. The only thing LeBron can do now is play for individual goals right now, to an extent. Like, I mean, yeah, he can win a couple of more championships, and that would further enhance his legacy. But right now, LeBron is. We know who LeBron is. He's playing for individual goals. And I think his ultimate goal is to be the all-time leading scorer, and I think it's attainable. Um, he's not showing any signs as of yet of breaking down. And aside from the freak injury he had last year, hopefully that was an aberration and he'll be able to play a couple more years at a high level. And that's all it's going to take. If he can play just a couple of more years at a high level, I think Kareem's record is history. This was the year that I would have to see how LeBron looks. But I think once he passed Kobe this year, all right, and as long as he doesn't get injured, he's going to go. He's coming for the record. Luka Doncic, his career is just starting. He's only 20 years old. We'll have to see if he could even equate what Dirk did. You know what I'm saying? Dirk is the greatest European NBA player of all time. Can Luka even match what Dirk did? Can he win a championship with Dallas Mavericks? So these are things we got to look for, man. Tell me what you guys think.